ciao bella! Today we go to Italy and we're gonna enjoy some black metal, because why not? Now today's band is called Totalitarian and founded in 2017. It's a relatively new band. Their debut album wasn't too great, I'm afraid, but with Bloodlands, this band is, well, getting a lot better, or somewhat better to say the least. Bloodlands isn't a full album, but a mini CD with 6 tracks and about 26 minutes of all that extremity that this genre is all about. But without further ado, let's take a look on this MCD. Put out in a nice digipack, kind of a twofold, very simple in design. And there's obviously a booklet which gives us a little insight on the content lyric-wise. So this is all about war, World War II especially, it seems, nihilism, death, misanthropy, and other such happy topics. Now, these are not hereby just coincidence, obviously, and one could even say there are a lot of similarities with its kind of a thematic relative, that is Panzerdivision Marduk by Marduk. One could also say that it's not misleading to compare this with 1349, the Norwegian black metal band with the drummer Frost, and as such these actually kind of belong together. Now, Bloodlands being a mini CD with some 26 minutes, it actually reminds me a lot of Panzerdivision Marduk, not only because of its fast forward, kind of a fast tempo black metal, and being kind of a very compact, but also because they are both war themed and kind of straightforward ways of, delivering the World War II and other war related topics. Now, besides these similarities, the overall feeling is very warlike. Bloodlands starts and ends with intro and outro respectively, with kind of our march drumming and kind of a sinister warlike militant feeling. But those are kind of like the only calm points during the whole MCD. The rest is just like machine gun doing its singing of violence and war, and if you can just outlast it, you're like sweating because it's so overwhelmingly brutal and violent. Now, the downside of all this violence and fast-paced black metal is obviously the lack of diversity, the lack of variety, because after all, Bloodlands starts to repeat itself quite quickly. Now, for people who just want to keep their albums, very much to the same genre, to the same style all the way through, this is obviously a good thing. But if you're looking more, say, dynamic approach to black metal, Bloodlands can be a tiny disappointment. I mean, it's very well composed and conducted, it's just there's no extra useless stuff. There are no gimmicks, there are no parts that wouldn't fit this kind of thing. The vocals are aggressive, kind of in your face, and same applies to every instrument, and of course the songs themselves. But it gets a tiny little bit, tiresome after a few spins. Now, obviously, if you take this as a random listening pleasure, like, hey, I haven't played this in a while, it probably makes a bigger impact, as well as the first initial spin. But when you're going through and through it again and again, it just might get a little cumbersome. It's not a big flaw, obviously, because it's not like most of us anyway get to listen to albums repeatedly over and over again. But for that kind of say, listening pleasure, I wouldn't recommend Bloodlines as the first album. That might be even true with, Panzerdivision Marduk. As much as I love the album, there are only time and place which you need to have for certain kind of say, listening pleasure, just now I want a dose of violence. Boom. 30 minutes later you're like, okay, now something else. But overall, Totalitarian is doing a great job. I think this kind of a mini CD format, EP format, serves the band better than a full-length album, say of 45 minutes, 60 minutes or whatever. So this kind of a 20-60 minutes, it's just like boom, peak impact in a relatively short amount of time, and for such session it is just nice solid MCD. Go check out the samples and decide for yourself. Obviously my thumbs up for Totalitarian are right there. See you soon, and remember to subscribe to the channel. See ya, bye bye.